And finally, it is pat down news! Melbourne has entered its villain era, as it has not only introduced new warrantless search powers for police for the next 6 months, but has also introduced adult time for adult crime for children. Now, in regards to the new pat-down powers, according to police, it'll be like a random breath test, in that a random selection of people using a thoroughfare by foot or by car would be subjected to a pat-down search without a warrant or reasonable suspicion at any time across inner Melbourne over the next 6 months. And I will say, for those who need it to be said, these are not alike. Driving and walking are not the same thing, and a pat-down is far more invasive than a breath test. They certainly aren't the same unless you need a license to walk now. Not to mention, as of November 2023, being intoxicated in public is no longer a criminal offence. I have to suspect that they're not patting down businessmen leaving PwC or 85-year-old grandmas, and if they aren't, then upsettingly, this is not as random as they make it seem. Most likely this will be males aged somewhere between 13 to 25, and that they will be black. If you fit all three of these criteria, I believe you're getting a certificate from the police that says I was randomly racially discriminated against and all I got was this lousy pat down. The police insisted that the searches will be totally random and completely unbiased. After all, some of the African kids who get stopped will be wearing dark hoodies or clothes, and some will be wearing bright hoodies or clothes. And you won't know which one it is until they stop you. Completely random, as promised. It's like a racist Kinder Surprise where the toy is sadness every single time, which is great! Because we all remember the last time that there was this sort of public outrage over supposed growth of crime in Melbourne, when the papers and the politicians insisted that we were under siege, not by crime, but by teenage Sudanese kids eating at Chadstone. Fortunately, there wasn't a report just last week that showed police are facing accusations of racial profiling after data shows Aboriginal, African, Middle Eastern and Pacific Island communities are disproportionately targeted in searches. So no need to worry about that happening over and over and over again for the next 6 months. It certainly wouldn't. There's no evidence. There's none. And there certainly isn't any research based on data obtained from Victoria Police under their Freedom of Information laws, which didn't find people perceived by police to be Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander were 15 times more likely to be searched than white people in 2024, despite being less likely to be found with prohibited items. That's never happened. So I guess Melbourne's minority communities won't be preparing for 6 months of the most predictable random months in history. If these stats are anything to go by that don't exist, this 6-month period is mostly going to be 6 months of cops frisking the cast of Heartbreak High, allegedly. CBD residents have been encouraged to leave home 15 minutes earlier to allow extra time for random mandatory freedom checks. Police and politicians say the only people who are worried are those who have ever been searched by a cop before or have ever had to deal with VicPol in any way whatsoever. Victoria Police have made some assurances. Melbourne, so listen in, lean in close. 1, that the pat-downs will be conducted with all the sensitivity and nuance that police and PSOs are famous for. And 2, these warrantless pat-downs won't be racially targeted, just racially experienced, at a rate of 15 times higher than white people. Jacinta Allen said that the warrantless pat-down powers that will last until May 2026 are consistent with Victoria Police's plan to increase police visibility and reduce serious and violent crimes by 5% each year. Which is bold, because historically, the only thing police have ever reduced by 5% each year is their own public trust rating. Going on to say that the pat-down powers are needed to restore public safety and will stop violence, though experts say historical evidence suggests violence often comes from police, meaning that they'll put the entire CBD in the direct line of the worst public threat that there could possibly be, a cop with unchecked power. Well, think about it. in trying to achieve these goals, if we drive out the population of Melbourne, then statistically there will be less people around to either commit crime or be the victim of it. Yeah? See where I'm going with this? So inevitably, there will be less crime. So when the population is only cops and PSOs, they can spend all of their days patting each other down to meet their KPIs. I'm sure they'll love that. The old, we're only doing this for your own good excuse is fine when you're convincing a child to go to bed early or, to take their medicine. But when it's an unasked for 6-month free trial of fascism light, it just doesn't fly. Expanding the powers of PSOs may, however, cause delays to their main job, standing around in groups of 4 or 5 intimidating children while ignoring actual crime. And they have issued what they call a fair warning that these warrantless pat-down powers will make PSOs even more unsufferable than usual for the next 6 months. All this is very reminiscent of the security theatre that is on display at airports. And honestly, the only benefit of the cost of living crisis was that I was taking less planes, so I didn't have to deal with airport security as often. But why should the cost of living crisis rob us all of the rich cultural experience of going to an airport? It shouldn't. It absolutely shouldn't. So Melbourne's new random pat-downs will actively recreate an authentic airport experience vibe for those of us who can no longer afford to take holidays. How fun for us! If the next 6 months transforms the city into the same experience as visiting the airport security-wise, I'd be keeping an eye on the cost of fast food and sandwiches. Look, if they get the impression that the CBD is now an airport, we're going to see them truly get fucked, right? The price is going to skyrocket. At least when we're robbed by a mugger, they don't pretend that they're doing the right thing and that this is for our own safety. It's a much more honest relationship and I really appreciate it.